then what I'm going to do is go over here and do live on Facebook. And there's always this little bit of a lag before it connects. So hang on. And it'll be on our Facebook page.
Okay.
So you'll have to make sure you go share it.
You know, I got to tell you the truth. Did I tell you about how sometimes there's actors who don't like to see themselves on video?
Yes. I
still haven't watched that video you sent. I keep on saying, okay, Corinne, watch it.
Really?
Watch it. I can't. I just haven't watched it.
Okay, so we're getting ready to go live here.
Okay. I'm ready.
Okay. So I want to welcome everybody to Meet the Candidate. And just to remember that our goal here is simply just to get to know each candidate at a more personal level and find out who they really are. And we're going to do all of that in just 15 minutes. So we just ask a lot of random questions. Are you ready? And I'm going to let you introduce yourself. So why don't you, that'll be the first thing. Tell us who you are.
I'm ready. I'm Corinne Fiagome. That's Fiagome like origami. If you can say origami, you can say Fiagome. People often ask if it's Italian. It's not. It's Ghanaian. I married a person who immigrated from Ghana when he was 2.
Oh.
I am, yes, and we met each other in South Arlington. We went to high school together right here in the area. I am a mother of 3 Mansfield Independent School District students. I am running for Mansfield ISD Board of Trustees, place 7.
Okay, excellent. So here go the random questions.
Okay.
What was your very first job?
Oh. My favorite job, or my first job, was at Kmart. If you remember, there was the Kmart, and I worked there late 15. So I started at age 15, and I worked there for 18 months. I had 2 Christmases at Kmart, and that is a big deal. It was crazy cuckoo. So Kmart in Arlington, that was my first job. I was a cashier. I was a stalker. I sold watches. I sold jewelry. And I cleaned up the toy aisle during Christmas, which was serious.
Okay. What is the best book or movie that you've ever seen?
Oh, okay. So I'm going to jump to movie first. I'm only going to say that this is the best movie because I watch it so many times. And I don't really know why I watch this movie so many times. It's You've Got Mail with Tom Hanks and Meg Ryan. I do not know what it is about it. I think it's because I do love books. And it's the 2 bookstore owners. And then there's a little bit of a competition, but there's romance. I just think it's adorable. And then when he says that he would send her a bouquet of sharpened pencils if he knew her name. It's just the most adorable line. I think probably I should send our teachers a bouquet of sharpened pencils at the start of the school year. For book, there's so many books that I really enjoy. I'm going to try to think about something that I read recently. Goodness, I'm a book reader. Well, you know, of course I could always go to the Bible as a favorite book, but I'm not going to do that. I'm going to try to go to an author, Zadie Smith. She's a British author. She speaks a lot about issues of the African diaspora. So she talks about African Americans, people, African, I guess you would say British, and they're usually people who are professionals who are just telling stories from their lives. She really writes in a style like John Irving, who I love. Mm-hmm. Do you remember John Irving's books? So yeah, really narrative focus on people.
Okay. So do you, when you were small, did you have this dream job, or what, you know, this is what I want to be when I grow up? Did you have that when you were small?
Yes, I did. Wow, this is really a get to know you.
Hmm.
So when I was small, like so many, I wanted to be a performer. I wanted to be an actress. I thought about being in film, and I carried that for quite some time, wanting to be in the arts, and went to the Cats School in, I think it's in Arlington. I did Texas Girls Choir for a little while, and I just remember a teacher saying to me, "Oh, Corinne, you could do so much more." It's just like, okay. So I kept up the other schoolwork and everything. And eventually I did let that go, and I started to look into business. Before I left high school, I was already into the idea of working in the business field. And that's what I ended up going to school for. I got a commerce degree from the University of Virginia and linked that with public policy. And I'm really focused. I consider myself in the business of improving communities. It's related to nonprofit work, governance issues, and community service.
Okay. Let me ask you this question. What inspires you the most?
You know, I believe that the thing that inspires me most is beauty in a lot of different forms. So I will say that when I'm feeling uninspired, if I can get into a really nice environment that helps, like getting energy from an engaging outdoor environment. That's part of the reason why I chose University of Virginia. I only applied to 2 schools, UT Austin and University of Virginia. And UT Austin, of course, is awesome. But when I went to the University of Virginia's campus, it was just so beautiful. And that kind of nature, being surrounded by nature is really inspiring to me.
Okay. What's the one thing that you can't live without?
Coffee. I'm looking at it right here and I'm like, I really want to sip some of my coffee right now. So let me do that.
Okay, we'll do that. And then do you make coffee at home, or are you a purchaser?
I got out of my Starbucks daily habit, but I do still purchase their beans and get them ground there and make it at home. But yes, I developed the coffee habit at the end of my college career, and it was really because of that fancy coffee phase. And I try to tell my kids, don't get into the fancy coffee. It's too costly, but it's so good.
Okay. All right, here's your next question. We're going to go deep again. All right, so what's the one thing that you want to achieve before you die?
Well, you know, I think I'm there in a lot of ways. I didn't want to, I'm being honest with you. This is just personal. I didn't want to leave my children not knowing what my values were, wondering who I was, wondering what was important. I really wanted to be able to leave a legacy with my children that they can build on and be able to share as they go forth. And so my twins are 8 years old. I remember starting to, grow into some serious consciousness around 8. I think that they'll remember who I am and what was important to me at this time. So I think I've achieved my number one goal is just being connected to family and them knowing who I am, and I got to also know who they are, and I can see who they are growing to be.
Great. Okay. If you think back to your childhood, what is the one memory that had an impact on you to this day?
Ooh. Okay. The thing that comes into mind, and I don't know if this is my final answer, but the thing that comes to mind when you ask that question is remembering how hard my mother worked. And in particular, she, as a single mother at the time, she was married, but at the time my father wasn't very involved at this point in my life. She had to work several jobs, and my grandmother and my grandfather lived in Dallas, and my mother and our family lived in Fort Worth at that time, really early, when I was about 7. And she would have to, when she had to go to work, which was in Dallas, we would get in the car. She would drive us to a bus station that connected to DART in Dallas. So the earliest DART pickup station. My sister and my brother and I would get on that DART bus. We would ride the buses. It would take a couple of hours to get to my grandmother's house. And we would stay there, and our grandmother would watch us. And then late in the evening, my mother would come and pick us up from my grandmother's house, and we would drive back to home. So why did she do that? First of all, she was a really hard worker, and she still is. But she did it for the school systems. She did it because in her experience growing up in the part of Dallas where she was at that time, she didn't feel like she got a strong education. So she was seeking a better education for her children. And that's why we live so far from her network of support. And so we did that for quite some time until she was just like, I can't do this anymore. And we moved to the South Arlington area and got a great education there. And so just making those sacrifices for your children to make sure that they have what they need.
Okay. Do you have a motto or a creed that you live by?
What I had up on my wall in college, and what I often go back to in my mind when I'm starting to do things and trying to figure out why am I doing this, is seek wisdom. And that's a biblical verse somewhere. I can't give. So when I'm, questioning my choices, it's that just seek wisdom. What's the wise thing to do? And that always goes back to what's biblical, what makes sense as far as like what's going to be best for the most people, just what's wise. Yeah, that's my motto.
Okay. If you could give anyone one piece of advice about life, what would it be?
Well, I would say to them, so I just talk to you about seeking wisdom. I think what I try to tell my children is also seek peace. Don't try to choose routes that will bring you peace with yourself and with other people. One of my biggest pet peeves in situations that are difficult is just people who just want to be ornery and fight just to fight. And I think that we'll all enjoy life more if we seek peace in our choices and in our environments. And that doesn't mean that we avoid conflict at all. That means that in that conflict, you seek a peaceful solution. Seek compromise if needed, or you state your case and make it happen. And if you have to agree to disagree, then that's what happens.
Excellent. What do you do in your spare time?
I read a lot. I love to read. I love to read, and I love podcasts. So yes.
Podcast fan. Okay.
I'm
Favorite podcast?
huge. Okay, so right now, well, I'll tell you what got me into it, like so many people. That Serial podcast. Do you remember? Do you listen to podcasts?
Not very much.
It was a whole true crime podcast. Okay, I gotta admit, it wasn't like it was very intellectual, but it had to do with a crime that occurred, and the podcaster was trying to show evidence that should have come out, or that she felt should have come out. And it was really did this guy really do this? And so this podcast, created by this woman who used to work for This American Life, really set off a whole genre of deep dives into news. And that's what I like the most, when there's some kind of news item. Of course, you can get the little sound clips, but with podcasts, you can really dig deep into the topic and get the historical background, get all the evidence, and really just hear people's voices. So yeah, This American Life type stuff. But I kind of, okay, y'all are getting to know me. I kind of do like the true crime type podcast.
Interesting. Okay.
Yes.
We've reached our time.
Wow.
I know, it was fast, right? That's good. I want to thank you so much for participating in this. And we do have candidate forums that will be coming up September the 24th. And so everyone make sure that you check in with the chamber to find out the time and all the details. So we will definitely see you again, but we wanted to just kind of give a little personal glimpse into our candidates, which a lot of times we don't get to do that. So thank you so much for participating. I hope you have a great rest of your day, and we'll see everybody next time. Thank you very much. Okay.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.